143 miles an hour. That's about average qualifying speed here this year. And men like Johnny Thompson in the DA Lubricant Special keep pushing for the 150 mile an hour mark. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Hanlon saying welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, the thrills of this 1958 Memorial Day Classic are brought to you by the DA Lubricant Company of Indianapolis, manufacturers of quality heavy-duty lubricants since 1919. Auto racing is the world's most punishing test of greases and oils. And recognizing this, DA uses racetracks from New York to California as proving grounds in a constant search for better lubricants. Knowledge gained in racing enables DA to produce superior greases and oils. DA lubricants are tailored to the specific need of the user, but all DA products capitalize on advancements brought about by the world's toughest sport.
He's up. Bob Veit, the number 14, the Bose Seal Passman, takes the green at the start of a 10-mile qualifying run, which will determine his position in the lineup for the 42nd annual Indianapolis 500-mile Speed Classic. There are over 50 cars and drivers waiting to compete for a 33rd chance at the big money. And Veit's average speed of almost 145 miles an hour set the tempo for the fastest qualifying field in track history. This is where our story begins, on a warm, sunny day in May, a day which saw the qualifying record broken twice. Ed Aletian, a man with a big worry on his mind, a heavy foot on the throttle, and a good car under him, was first to break the record. .926 miles per hour was the speed put down in the record book. And those waiting knew that this was going to be a very tough race. A 29-year-old veteran of 4 Indianapolis races. That's Patrick James O'Connor of North Vernon, Indiana, driving the Sumar Special. Pat's looking for the middle place in the second row and wants very, very much to win this 500. Race day morning, just 1 hour before starting time, we interviewed him, and this is what was said.
Pat, what's your planned race today?
Well, I always like to wait until they drop the green flag, and then I make up my mind. If the fellows in front are running real fast, then I'll be running just as fast or maybe a little faster. I'm going to try to lead it again this year. I've led it the last 2 years. I hope to lead it this year on the 200 lap, though. Those leading the opening laps don't pay much.
Well, I know you always have. As a matter of fact, I think you're doing a smart thing, because with the Legion, Rathman, and Reese in front there, if I were you, I'd hang back for just a couple of seconds and let them spin out.
They're going to cut this. Yeah, they're going to really be going. We know that, and it's going to be a real fast race.
Jimmy Reese put another John Zink Special into the race day lineup. Number 16 is the car, A.J. Watson is the mechanic, and for Jimmy, a spot in the front row. A mighty good starting place for an early arrival in victory lane. You know, winning the Indianapolis 500 is quite simple. All you need is a heavy foot on the throttle, the endurance of a pack mule, the wisdom of Solomon, a car in perfect condition, a super fast pit crew, and a beaming smile from Lady Luck. Aside from that, it's a cinch. 2 Rathmans in a race can be confusing, but consider the problem of Papa Rathman. 2 race driving sets to root for, and he can't afford to show any partiality. But Dick Rathman, the eldest brother, has no problems on this day. He's driving number 97, the McNamara Special. And at the end of his qualifying run, the record was broken for the 2nd time in 1 day, with a speed of 145.974 miles an hour. Now, one of the mighty Novis, number 15 with Paul Russo of St. Louis. He is the world's fastest driving grandfather and a mighty tough race competitor. His time, 142.959 miles per hour. Drivers competing against Tony Bettenhausen have had frequent cause to wish that he was back home harvesting the bean crop. Tony is one of the most colorful figures in racing, and today upholds the honor of Tinley Park, Illinois, with a good speed of 143.919 miles an hour. Considering it from all angles, though, this qualifying can sure wear a fella out. The second day of qualifying was beautiful, if you like wind. No one was in a hurry to qualify, so flagman Bill Vandewater sat and watched the practice. But the cars were not the only eye-catchers here today. The clouds gathered heavily in the sky. The wind grew stronger. Then, it was run, neighbor, or you're going to get wet. But one fellow with no insomnia problems just crawled under a car and went to sleep. With weather conditions improved, the track opened 10 minutes before closing time, and Bob Christie put the Federal Engineering Special over the line, the only qualifier of the day. Problems, always problems. For the DA lubricant team, there were two big ones. Old Faithful number 75 is possibly just a little tired from too many races. Number 7, brand new and beautiful, has a steering problem in that newly designed front end. And driver Johnny Thompson, a fellow who takes his racing very seriously, explains his difficulties. Mechanical diagnostician Dr. Joseph Scopa looks over the patient. His opinion? There's something wrong. And down in Gasoline Alley, the mechanical crew were heard to say frequently and vehemently, "Goodness gracious, we do wish this car would steer properly." But the DA team weren't the only ones with problems. Van Johnson, driving number 58, had a king-sized problem during practice. An 1,146-foot problem is what it developed into. That's how far he skidded. And the cement of the north turn wall didn't budge an inch. 2 days left to qualify and 14 places still open. Bill Vandewater wore out a few flags and lost a few pounds while Jimmy Bryan and Ack Miller surveyed the situation from the pit wall. As place after place was filled, some of the slower qualifiers began to look a little anxious. Freddie Agabation was trying hard, maybe too hard. Driving number 56, he went through the south turn. The short chutes, and then a slightly battered car, 4 flat tires, and Freddie's ready to go out and try again. George Amick, known as the veteran rookie, was the 33rd qualifier. Driving the Daimler Special, he took the flag at 142.710 miles per hour. In other Indianapolis years, 139 to 140 miles an hour was fast enough to assure a race day position. But now, drivers with 142 or slightly better occupied the worry seat. What happened? Bump, 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 all down the line. Ray Crawford, third man on the bubble, soon got the word that there was to be no race for number 49. Troy Ruttman drove the Agajanian Special to second place in last year's Italian version of the 500. But here, the new number 98 has chosen to be temperamental, and about all J.C. Agajanian can do is to grin and bear it. A rabbit loose on the track. Every year there's one, and it must have brought good luck to Bill Cheeseburg. He's been casting loving glances at number 45, the other Novi, and had his wish fulfilled. A chance to qualify that did miss him, but Gene Marcinak just couldn't look. When it was over, though, Bill had himself a race to run, the last spot in the lineup to be sure, but he was in the big race. Sunrise brings another race day to Indianapolis, a morning like many others, but with a special feeling in the air. Outside, 180,000 people wait for admittance, while crews who haven't slept go ahead with final preparations for another big speed classic. The myriad details which make a race must be carefully planned ahead of time, like fuel consumption. Last year's winner, Sam Hanks, made 3 stops during the race, and the laps in which he was to come in for service were carefully predetermined through calculation of fuel consumption and tire wear. Just a little thing, but an extra stop could have cost him the race. At the fuel center, Bill Taylor gets a workout as 33 cars roll in and out in a hurry. And this morning, certainly there was no time to wait for green stamps. Another worry for the mechanic and driver is the loss of oil during the race. While fuel is added, tires replaced, and mechanical repairs are made during a pit stop, oil may never be added. If during the race it's discovered that your car is leaking oil, you'll be flagged in, where an oil slick on the track presents a safety hazard to the other cars. By now, it was apparent that the luck of race day weather had held once more. During the weeks preceding the race, the subject most frequently cussed and discussed is the weather. That, and of course, who's going to win the 500? But the weatherman's predictions held true. It was a beautiful day as the cars rolled onto the track and the spectators crowded into the stands for a look at the big race. The Indianapolis 500 is not just a race, but a pageant. A very colorful one composed of music, exhaust fumes, noise, ceremony, personalities, sometimes heartbreak, as well as happiness. Vivacious, curvaceous Shirley MacLaine is the trophy girl this year. She'll kiss the winner, lucky guy. And Dave Garraway brought the Speedway to his popular morning television show. Track owner Tony Holman, the busiest man in town every Memorial Day. Now, we failed to get this gentleman's name, but would you check that headgear? You can tell by the filled grandstand seats that it's time now to get the race underway. And as the pre-race ceremonies conclude, the drivers are ready. There's 500 rough miles ahead of them with victory lane at the end for only one. Dick Rathman on the pole. Ed Elysian, he's ready. Pat O'Connor, his 5th Indianapolis race. Jimmy Reese, number 16. And Bob Veit. Johnny Parson, he's won before. Johnny Boyd. Tony Bettenhausen. Jack Turner. Roger Ward. Rookie A.J. Foyt. Don Freeland. Paul Russo. Billy Garrett. Paul Goldsmith. Bob Christie. Eddie Sachs. Judd Larson. Jim Rathman. Al Keller. Johnny Thompson. Shorty Templeman. Jerry Unser. George Amick. Eddie Johnson. Len Sutton. Art Bish. Chuck Wyant. Johnny Tolan. Mike McGill. Dempsey Wilson. And Bill Cheeseburg. And champion driver Jimmy Bryan, he's ready. A tent full of balloons floats skyward, and it's gentlemen, start your engines. Dick Rathman, engine running, moves onto the track. Then it's Ed Elysian in the Zinc Special. Now Jimmy Reese in number 16, another Zinc Special. Pat O'Connor next, followed by Bob Veit in the Bose Seal Pass Special. In the first parade lap, the cars begin to find their places for the flying start. Now, for the first time, confusion begins to enter the scene. 3 racers were on the track ahead of the pace car and still haven't caught up with the field to take up their proper positions in the lineup. With no way of knowing that the 3 cars are running in another part of the track, officials in the pace car pull off at the end of the second parade lap, and the race is on, almost. Bill Vandewater still displays the yellow flag. The yellow lights around the track are still turned on, and cries of restart are heard up and down the pits. Finding out the 3 cars were out of formation, Sam Hanks and Tony Hulman backed the pace car onto the track to try and straighten the situation out. But now it's too late. The cars have now taken up their correct position. And as they come around into the main straightaway, Vandewater drops the green flag, and the race is officially started. Coming up the backstretch, they're flying. Alesian and Rathman leading the field into the northeast turn, and then Alesian loses control. It's Rathman. Fife bumps Reese. Reese is sideways, becoming a target for O'Connor, who crashes and goes up over him, finally coming to rest far down the track. Then, with desperate decisions to make in just split seconds, the rest of the field scrambles to avoid the wreckage. Some made it, some didn't. Unser hits Goldsmith, became airborne, and went over the wall as other cars cracked up in the infield. Where did everyone go? That's what the spectators are wondering. And Tony Hulman and Sam Hanks rushed to the timing stand to find out exactly what took place. What you have just seen was undoubtedly the most spectacular crash in Speedway history. A chain reaction like pins in a bowling alley put 7 cars out of the race at the scene of the accident. While other damaged cars continued for only a few laps more, rescue units on the spot struggled to put out a fire which has broken out in Pat O'Connor's car and to get him clear of the wreckage. Then, like tired warriors coming in from the scene of battle, the damaged cars make their way into the pits. For Bob Veit, the race was over here. Then Paul Russo brought his Novi in with the smashed front end. 9 seconds of inspection, and he's gone again. Number 77, Mike McGill, pushed into the pits, followed by Shorty Templeman. Now the officials are getting the complete details of what has happened, a mile from the timing stand. Rescue units still fight the flames in O'Connor's car. Those cars fortunate enough to have missed the wreck continue to slowly lap the field under the yellow flag. Jimmy Bryan, threading his way through the wreckage, has taken the legs, and Tony Bettenhausen. Jack Turner in number 25 made the first of a number of pit stops. His mechanical difficulties eventually forced him out of the big race. From his place in the pits, he looks around to see who is still running as his crew works on the car and checks over the wreck damage. Johnny Thompson, front end knocked out of line, comes in for a quick inspection. Tells his crew it's the right front wheel. Then A.J. Foyt in the Dean Van Line Special plays safe, gets 2 tires. Shorty Templeman finally arrives in the pits. Shorty hopes to restart and get back in the race. And Johnny Parsons in for inspection by technical committee. Russo in the pits again with a real headache. Emergency repairs cost him 10 minutes and 42 seconds of precious racing time. And the race goes on slowly, still under the yellow flag, as wreckage is cleared from the northeast turn. Then it was announced on the loudspeaker system, "Ladies and gentlemen, we regret to inform you that the injuries Pat O'Connor received in the accident have proved to be fatal." A dazed and bewildered Ed Aletian walks across the infield. This was certainly Heartbreak Alley today. But the race must go on. Track crews working at high speed have cleared all the wreckage from the northeast turn, and Bryan is still in the lead, with Sachs running second and Bettenhausen third. The race has been underway for 25 minutes, and at the beginning of the 19th lap, the green flag was displayed and Bryan continued to lead. Three laps later, Eddie Sachs in number 88 took over the lead. On the 22nd lap, A.J. Foyt in the Dean Van Line Special made his second pit stop. Broken fuel pump and drive shaft troubles took 13 minutes and 40 seconds. But owner Al Dean said, "Don't worry, boy. Things are going to get better." Coming down the main straightaway, Bettenhausen in 33 speeded up and going into the first turn took the lead. In the southeast turn, he was several car lengths ahead of Eddie Sachs. Then Amick in 99 pushed to the front and dueled with Bryan for first place. The caution flag again. Chuck Wyatt in 89 skidded 500 feet, hit the north turn wall and wound up in the infield, but minus part of his car. A speedway guard, Johnny on the spot, dashed to the track and removed the wreckage. And Wyatt, shaken up, but unhurt. Amick still paced the field with Bettenhausen and Bryan right behind him. Then Jim Rathman in the leader card special came into the pits on the 44th lap. 34 seconds for 3 tires and fuel, and on his way again. Bryan leads again now, George Amick having sacrificed first spot in order to make a pit stop. With Amick temporarily out of the way, Bettenhausen was still breathing down Bryan's neck. "57 laps, and the DA lubricant car is out. Front-end damage had made it increasingly difficult to drive. And Johnny Thompson doesn't believe in taking the gamble on wrecking his car. And he's so right. $30,000 on 4 wheels is not to be sneezed at." Now Bettenhausen really had his foot in the Tinley Park Express, but on his 63rd lap had to come in for a pit stop. 43 seconds was all Bryan needed, and so he grabbed the lead. Eddie Sachs in number 88 was out with a fractured universal joint. As he passed the 150-mile mark, it was Bryan by 6.5 seconds over Bettenhausen, and the gap was widening. Paul Russo into the pits again in a valiant effort to keep his battered Novi in the race. Gene Marcinak, the veteran speedway mechanic, is doing everything he possibly can in the way of emergency repairs to keep this car going. While the real race is on the track, the heartbreak and the drama frequently takes place right here in the pits. As Russo pulls out, Billy Garrett pulls in. It's now the 83rd lap, and Billy has been doing very well up to now. Does he feel badly? Is he disappointed? Of course he is. He's waited all year for this day. When you have a broken cam gear, there isn't much you can do. Jimmy Bryan is still in front. Now it's past the midway point of the race, and his crew signals him in for his second pit stop. The first stop earlier in the race took just 29 seconds, but this crew would like to do even better. Imagine changing 4 tires, handing the driver a cool drink, filling the fuel tank, and wiping the windshield in just about the same amount of time it takes you to kiss your wife goodbye in the morning. But for this Belond crew, practice has made perfect. And to them, it's almost automatic. Each man has his job to do and makes no false moves. Time to go, Jim boy. But I just got here, says he. Well, that's true. But now Bryan has to catch Johnny Boyd. Even a 27-second pit stop was too long for the closely contested leadership of this race. Up the backstretch, Boyd went with Bryan, Bettenhausen, and Jim Rathman trying to catch up. The average speed at this point, 131.887 miles per hour, and getting even faster. Paul Russo finally gave up the battle on his 6th pit stop, but everybody knew by now that he had been in this race. "126 laps. Johnny Boyd still leads, but it's time for his 2nd pit stop. Coming in now will cost him the front position, but it has to be done. And as his crew goes to work, the lead swings back to Bryan. 3 tires, fuel, 28 seconds, and Boyd's ready to go. Bryan in front, hotly pursued. Then the gap began to widen. Lap after lap went by. The 130th, 135th, the 140th, and on the 145th trip around, he completely lapped the field, giving himself a 60-second edge. Not too much margin when you consider he has 1 more pit stop to make. Going by the pits, Bryan gets the word from his crew that it's time for that 3rd pit stop. He's come 390 miles and still has 110 to go. And here again, the Belond crew swings into action. Three tires, fuel, and a cooling drink of water for Jim. 32 seconds it took as the crowd watched, and the margin of lead narrowed. Back in the race and still the leader. Jimmy Rathman in the leader card special lost control and spun while coming in for a pit stop. He finally got straightened up, and as he pulled out, signaled that he would make another lap and then try again. Another spin on the southwest turn. That's A.J. Foyt in the Dean Van Line Special. After safely coming through the big accident and fighting down mechanical troubles, it's ironical that he should spin out with the end of the race just ahead. But Foyt is safe, the car unhurt, and there's always another race. George Salih keeps consulting his stopwatch and worrying about that mechanical marvel he's built. Suddenly in the main straightaway, Jimmy Reese in car 16 lost his exhaust pipe. Hitting this could send the car completely out of control. So Jerry Daniels, a member of Johnny Talon's crew, runs onto the track and retrieves the pipe and gets a big round of applause from the spectators. It's almost the end of the race. Bryan is 27 seconds ahead of George Amy, but a mighty important little 27 seconds, where there is about $67,000 difference in prize money riding on Bryan's ability to keep Amy from passing him. Little warm today, isn't it, Frenchie? Then, look, Ma, no hands, as Vandewater shows Bryan the white flag. And he's into that last lap, the big payoff lap, the one that tells the story. That's the checkered flag for Jimmy Belond AP Special. One more lap around to reduce speed, then into the pit area for the ride into victory lane. Owner George Salih, sponsor Sandy Belond, and a very happy crew wait for Jimmy to come in. And here he is. He's tired, dirty, and deaf as a post from 3 hours, 44 minutes, and 41 seconds of motor noise, but very happy. George Amick in the Demler Special was second. Johnny Boyd in the Bose Seal Fast Special third. Tony Bettenhausen, Jones and Maley Special was fourth. And Jim Rathman in the Leader Card Special fifth. Truly a great race, although one marked with tragedy. But one also marked with a great victory for a great team. And for Jimmy Bryan, winner of the 42nd Annual Indianapolis 500 Mile Speed Classic.